Welcome everybody to the Pickswise NFL show. My name's Jacob and this is Andrew, and before week 12 kicks off, we're going to give you our 5 favorite prop bets. The first game we got are the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Vikings, started off this season really slow, but they've been able to really turn it into something good. Let's see if they can keep up this momentum against one of the worst teams in the league. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the worst teams in the league might be a bit of an understatement. That's why we're going with the over on Justin Jefferson's receiving yards of 67.5. He's had at least 70 yards in 3 straight games, and I don't know why anybody would expect him to come down here against a pathetic Jags team that's lost 10 games in a row. Obviously, the Vikings didn't have Adam Thielen last week, but Jefferson had 13 targets last week. Just because Thielen's coming back does not mean they're going to suddenly go away from their emerging star rookie. The Jags are giving up 8.3 yards per pass attempt this season. That is tied with the Patriots for the worst mark in the league. A very young and a very injured secondary in Jacksonville. I don't see any way Jefferson doesn't have a big game.
All right, staying with the Florida teams, we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Dolphins are kind of in this AFC East hunt still. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, the Dolphins have been very impressive. A lot of people talking about Tua and everything. The real strides they've made have actually been on defense. It's kind of been the defense carrying them. That's why we're going with the under. Brandon Allen, 210.5 passing yards. What can you say about this Bengals offense with Joe Burrow? Other than that, it doesn't look very good, to put it kindly. Allen was awful last week as expected against the Giants. He was just promoted from the practice squad 2 weeks ago. He had 136 yards against the Giants, and now he's facing a very underrated Dolphins secondary. Xavier Howard is a stud. Just this past week, they held Sam Darnold under 200 yards. I think they hold Allen under 200 yards again here.
All right, the next game we got a rivalry clash between the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. These ones are always fun. I'm a Saints fan myself, so I'm going to be going with the black and gold on this one. But Andrew, what do you think?
Well, I hate to disappoint my co-host, but we're going with the over on Calvin Ridley's receiving yards, also 67.5. I think he's in for a huge game here. Calvin Ridley had 90 yards when these teams played just a couple of weeks ago, and that was a game where the Falcons only scored 9 points. The offense was horrible. Matt Ryan had a really bad game, was sacked 8 times, and Ridley still had 90 yards in that game. Julio Jones may play here with his hamstring injury. It looks like he's going to be a game-time decision. Even if he does play, he's not going to be a full go. He's going to be more of a decoy, and that may actually work to Ridley's favor because he'll draw some of the defensive attention away from Saints defenders in the game plan. But he probably won't be getting as many looks as Julio Jones normally would, meaning there's going to be more targets for Ridley.
All right, and then next we got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles have just been getting pounded on social media this past week after laying a duck on primetime television. How do you think they bounce back against one of the league's best?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect from the Eagles as a whole. They're a very weird team. That being said, we do specifically like Miles Sanders in this matchup, and the over 63.5 rushing yards for him. I think he's got a great matchup. Odds makers have way overreacted. Obviously, he did nothing last week against the Seahawks, but that's because the entire offense did nothing. He barely got the ball. Odds makers way overreacted. He has before last week, he had at least 66 rushing yards in all but one game this season, and that was when he was playing a pretty tough 49ers run defense. Every single other game so far, he had at least 66 yards. So this line being 63.5 against a Packers team that is very vulnerable to the run. Even last week in the game, the Packers won by 1 million. They still let David Montgomery get loose for a couple of huge runs and cash is over. So I think Miles Sanders is going to have a big game here. Doug Peterson caught a ton of flack in the media for only giving him 6 carries this past week. I think he's obviously going to feel that pressure to get him the ball a lot more early here. And last week specifically was a matchup thing. They clearly wanted to attack the Seahawks through the air, which is their weakness in their secondary. The Seahawks actually have a pretty decent run defense all day long. That's why he didn't get that many carries last week. His workload should be much more heavy here.
All right, last but not least, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the winless New York Jets. Jets still looking for their first win of the season. Raiders, though, will be looking for a bounce-back game after falling flat against the Atlanta Falcons last week. What do you think?
Yeah, we're looking for a big passing day against the Jaguars. We're looking for a big passing day against the Jets as well, the 2 worst teams potentially in the league. We're taking the over on Derek Carr's passing yards, 259.5. The Jets, what can you say about them? They've got no wins. The secondary is a mess. They've released multiple starters. Brian Poole is on injured reserve. They're playing a bunch of young guys. Bryce Hall, who was just activated off the NFI list for his first career NFL game, a 6th-round rookie, is now suddenly starting. The secondary is young, just like Jacksonville's. It's also injured, just like Jacksonville's. Derek Carr, A few of his recent games weren't the prettiest. He didn't have the most yards. One of those was due to weather in the Cleveland game. Last week, they just got steamrolled by the Falcons. That was an unusual game. In 5 of Carr's first 6 games, he had at least 260 yards. I don't think he's going to have any trouble clearing that total here against the Jets.
All right, well, there you go. Those are our 5 favorite picks, prop bets for this week. Make sure to lock them in before the games start, and we will see you guys next week.